No one has ever attacked America from the outside, and no one in their right mind ever will. We have only invented enemies. All of the dangers have long converged on the inside. Let's start with a two-bit pool hall hustler from the Chicago crime syndicate. Even though it is always obvious when he scratches that nose every few seconds, the public has no clue that the coked-up Muslim imposter flies higher than a kite. No one in the media tells them. The media is controlled by 5 corporations that enable Washington's drive towards war and the extermination of life on Earth. The Washington gangsters now perfected a formula that apparently is almost 100% guaranteed, titled How to Sell a War to Those with Utter Lack of Sophistication. Start out by brainwashing the easily fooled talking heads. To make sure that this works, said show hosts are then paired with former military advisors or experts who benefit in substantial cash and stock options from assorted military equipment companies. The interviewee is of course not obliged to give out his or her secret that he or she is being paid these enormous sums. Sprinkle generously with flukes who are dumber than rocks like McCain, who often reported from a location thousands of miles away from where the Alzheimer's bunch was actually located. The degree to which otherwise intelligent people are taken in by the news channels who get their marching orders from the crack whores in our White House never cease to amaze me. Yet, how can we blame the so-called low information voters for this, when the media is nearly entirely owned by those causing all of the problems that they're not reporting on? Who exactly are the individuals responsible for the facade, when we have 5 corporations that control the entire media? How do we inform the majority who don't even know that our soldiers are not in Afghanistan to fight a war, but to guard the poppy fields, a multi-billion-dollar U.S. enterprise? Pat Tillman's deathly mistake was to be publicly outraged and vowing to expose the scam as soon as he returns to the U.S. He should have waited until then. With the exception of very few, we employ hundreds of spineless, sycophantic littletons, as I call them, running around Washington, working only to make sure that they will still be in office for the next election. Then there are those who know better, but still keep dragging the criminals back in, like, well, you know what cats do. The imperial war on terror is a multi-trillion-dollar farce. Unfortunately, the sociopaths are supported by the poor buffoons who believe the psychological warfare babble fed to them and have long turned into docile sheep, convinced the fake beheadings were real. They are the Edith and Archie Bunkers who are afraid to cut off the mattress tag that warns under penalty of law. Sadly, Edith and Archie are not the exception. Thanks to the slick media and their paid trumpets like the 5, Donna Perino either has a real knack for lying or is as dumb as a doorknob. Ditto for brainwashed sycophant Megyn Kelly, who can't repeat the P word without emphasis often enough. Kimberly Gargoyle uses her 5-inch wide mouth to interrupt and talk over everyone non-stop. All are actors, lying every time they open their trap. Whenever I did watch, I never pay attention to the Beckel clown, though I don't really want to upset myself too much. The little fellow Greg used to be witty, but now he's just a goofball lying with the rest of them. Rush Limbaugh, Jeff Cooner, Mark Levin, Wiener, i.e. Michael Savage, a pompous ass that can't manage without starting a sentence praising himself. That man is gross, pulling up snot every few seconds. That old guy is almost too much. Don't even get me started with the worst, megalomaniacal O'Reilly, a nerve-wracking, stupid man. It's a wonder they didn't award him the official megalomaniac title. In a way, I kind of feel sorry for everyone that must address an affirmative action community organizing gangster puppet with the P word. If I had their job, I would possibly last half a minute, or however long it took for them to cut the mic, which I'd use to tell an illegal jackass what I think of him. Hundreds of thousands of innocent people are going to be slaughtered in part because of these delusional, paid-for lying whores. A dumb person has no idea that he or she is stupid, and I can forgive them. I cannot, however, forgive those who should know better, and yet still make up stories. Janine Pirro, a real Jezebel, who deserves the #1 spot today. She claims to write her own material and calls herself judge, although she resembles a slut. Of course, I could have easily overestimated her mental capacity, and she may well have used her meager pulled up and pushed sideways assets in lieu of cerebral knowledge more than once in the past. If I hosted a talk show, I'd prefer attention for my intellect, not my cleavage, but that's why she got the job in the first place. Pirro is no Cheryl Atkinson, a lady who quit rather than lie to the public. This linebacker convinces the dumbest Americans we need yet another U.S. invasion to bomb people that cannot defend themselves. But it's okay with them because the globalists make trillions of dollars from the illegal wars and of course throw a few in the direction of the following jackasses.
With me now, Fox News military analyst, Lieutenant General Tom McInerney, and the strategic communication advisor for the Syrian coalition, Shavander. All right, General McInerney, is there any question but that we need to bomb ISIS in Syria?
Not in my mind, Judge. I think it's very important because that's where their safe havens are. That's where most of their ammunition and their population center of gravity is. So we need to go there as well as, of course, in Iraq.
Your mind is much more qualified for redecorating latrines, old boy. One obviously does not need brains, only look serious, read the calculated lies designed for simple minds, and beat the war drums via a teleprompter. How many hundreds of millions have already died for the banksters? All three of you corrupt charlatans pushing for more imperial wars ought to be run through wood chippers. There is a good possibility this could escalate into a nuclear war with only gray ash left. The inbred globalists who believe they can survive in underground bunkers might be surprised how quickly they can incinerate. I'm sure that the bunker locations are known and may already be rigged, just in case, you know.
All right, Ube, I understand that you believe that we need to go into Syria.
Absolutely.
It does take a special slut to lick her lips suggestively while on national TV.
Absolutely. ISIS is exposed in Syria, and the reason why ISIS has a vulnerability in its position in Syria is because it is facing local resistance by the Syrian communities that are suffered under its control, and because the Free Syrian Army has launched a ground campaign against ISIS. So now is a real window of opportunity for the United States to launch crippling airstrikes against ISIS's command and control and its leadership.
You don't just happen to be a subcontractor and are paid with cash and stock options for an extremely profitable company, do you, Ube? Why didn't you think of bombing ISIS in Syria? Why instead outfit them with weapons the American taxpayers funded? Oil works wonders, of course, since you now want to bomb the same criminals you helped devastate Syria with. America's proxies, the Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, a bunch of disgusting, inbred, nightgown-clad madmen that long funded, supported, and protected this menace. They are the psychopaths that terrorize the entire sovereign nation of Syria. ISIS is a Western-created and backed terrorist organization and will be used as an excuse to continue American imperialism in the Middle East, to justify military strikes against Syria and whoever is next. First they were the Mujahideen, then became Al-Qaeda, another few name changes, a fake beheading until they were certain the useful idiots could no longer differentiate, and voila, they have now devised a foolproof formula and tricked the rubes again. I lived in Europe when America was fooled into believing the hoax that babies were supposedly thrown out of incubators, tearfully presented by the daughter of a Kuwaiti ambassador, which was not known at the time because she pretended to be a nurse.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators, took the incubators, and left the children to die on the cold floor.
I myself buried 14 newborn babies that had been taken from their incubators.
Kids in incubators, and they were thrown out of the incubators so that Kuwait to be systematically dismantled.